Hey everybody, welcome to another miniature sculpting tutorial. This is Tom Mason, and today we're going to go over kind of an intro to sculpting muscle. So, sorry about my voice, I'm getting over a cold. Hopefully I won't go into some sort of rasping cough, but here we go. So, as you can see here, I've already started sculpting some muscle on one of the arms. And today in this video, I want to go over kind of two ways to go about it. This first way you're seeing is much more in line with kind of the bulking we talked about in the last video, which is to get a lot of clay down and just start making the form out of that. So what I did here is I put on got a very large piece of clay, rolled it out into a long kind of sausage shape or tube shape, and pressed it on the arm, and then you just work it around the figure, and you keep at it until you start to get the shape you want. With this technique, you can end up getting good muscle definition and stuff, but it does take a little bit more effort if you want some really hard defined lines, separations between the muscle groups and things like that. And the reason for that is that it's one blob, so you have to form everything into the shape that you want it to be. So if you want a large boulder for the shoulder kind of thing, you have to form that shape, but it's going to be a smooth, gradual transition into the bicep and tricep, things like that. So you'll just have to go back in and use a lot of tools. But the reason why this is a pretty good one is it's I don't know if it's faster, but it does force you not to dwell on certain aspects too much. It kind of forces you to have to work the whole figure at once because you have, all this clay that is not in the right form at all. So you get to work it all. So I tend to think it's a little bit faster, at least for me. But I also use this technique when I'm not trying to do super well-defined muscles, so that might be the real reason. Alright, that arm's done using the first technique, so let's move on to the right arm. Alright, now we're on to the right arm. For this one, I used a technique that I've used since I very first started sculpting, and this is how I learned to sculpt muscle on figures. It's also a great way to do it if you're trying to make well-defined muscles, even if they're fairly small. But especially if you're going to go for a much bulkier or well-defined character. So, in this technique, what you do is you take smaller pieces of putty and lay them on the area. And this works, I'm doing it on the arm here, but this will work anywhere with, chest, back, legs. And basically what you're trying to do, you're not trying to lay down every strand of muscle, every fiber, but you want to put in a decent, like the overall shape. So, for instance, you would do one piece of clay for the bicep, kind of push that on there, maybe push it in just a little bit. You're not trying to overwork it too much to begin with. You want to try and get as many of them in. So 1 for the bicep, maybe 2 for the tricep, because there's kind of 2 strands there that go back there. I don't know the name of this one, but the one that goes below the tricep down to the elbow, sometimes you need to add a little there just to start defining the elbow and the under part of the forearm. Then you can either put a very large ball up on the shoulder and work that in, or sometimes I'll actually do 2 or even 3, because there's technically kind of 3 muscle groups up there. For the forearms, 1 for kind of the outer forearm and 1 for the under. And then once you get all that laid in, you start to kind of work the figure similarly to how you did the other arm. But this time, you have very well-defined muscle groups already. This is very good to also kind of gauge the size that the muscles in the arm will be, because excuse me, you're not pushing a whole wad of clay all around the arm trying to get the right shape and form and having to add a little bit here and there. You will know right away what the size is of every group. So because every group is separated, it really is much easier to define the muscles just by virtue of having to blend the groups together. You will automatically get creases and separations in some of the major areas, especially under the shoulder, down into the bend of your arm where the bicep is, even between the triceps, depending on how well you clean it up. You'll have to go in, if you want to give somebody like a really ripped, threaded look, you'll still have to go in and add a little bit of extra depth there with tools like the clay shaper, or when you really want to start making them fine, you can use a needle or a scalpel / X-Acto blade, things like that. But you'll want to go back in and soften them up a little bit, because it looks a little strange to have such a hard, crisp edge in muscles, because they don't get that hard. I should probably take this time to say that it's really important to study anatomy. Watching this video is not going to teach you how to sculpt muscles exactly. I mean, if you're doing an arm and you want to look at what I did and follow that exactly, then, that'll be some good reference. But it's really a good idea to start studying muscles and how they flow together and work together. And you can do that by looking at drawings or pictures. It actually, this is a big help to me, is to actually try and find when you're sculpting, try and find a magazine or something that shows someone flexing in the way, the same pose, if not, maybe not the whole pose, but say his arm's outstretched like this guy. Find somebody with an outstretched arm that's hyperflexed. So if you're doing, this is especially true if you're doing larger, more defined muscles, and muscle magazines are great for that. You could even use another miniature for reference. That's could possibly be the best, having something physical, 3D, in hand, let you see everything around. Just find one you like that shows the kind of muscle style you're going for, and you'll be good to go. this wraps up Introduction to Sculpting Muscle. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I do plan on doing more videos going over other muscle groups in the future, but I thought I would kind of just focus on this one area just to show you kind of the next step. I'm trying to go over the general process of sculpting a miniature rather than focusing on every little tiny bit. Just kind of give you a big overview of what happens, what you need to do, maybe the order you'd want to do it in, that sort of thing. So let me know if you please leave a comment, any suggestions, anything you might like to see. I've got quite a few planned, like I always say, but I'm always happy to hear what you guys want to see too. One last thing. If anybody's interested in picking up some of the miniatures I've sculpted over the years, I've got two good recommendations for you. One is for a company called Black Dragon Miniatures, and they carry my old Havoc Protocol line. It's all still available there. They're really cool sci-fi miniatures, so go check them out. You can also go to MegaCon Games. That's where I'm currently at, as many of you know, and we're doing lots of cool stuff over there, and I'd really appreciate it if anybody checked it out. All right, have a good one.